Round 1, Game 1 of the 2024 Stanley Cup playoffs, and the Toronto Maple Leafs lost 5-1 to the Boston Bruins. Here we go again. Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. I'm Victoria. I talk all things Toronto sports from Scotland, and after every Leafs playoff game this year I'm doing a little video of my thoughts, and yeah, you can imagine my thoughts on this one. If you watched the game last night, you will know my thoughts already, pretty much. Losing 5-1 in Game 1 is not how the Leafs wanted to start off their playoff campaign, but as all Leafs fans know, the Leafs are notorious for being bad at Game 1s, so should we be overly concerned, or are they getting swept by Boston is basically the question at this point. It was already off to a bad start when it was announced that Nylander was going to be out last night. First time since November 2016 that Nylander has been out with something not illness related, which is really impressive in itself, but it's a shame that it had to happen at the worst possible time, because I do think his absence had a real impact on the team last night. I think it really showed. I think he does really have an important role in that team, and it was missing last night. And so even though that's not the entire reason the Leafs lost, it's definitely one of the factors that contributed, in my opinion. It does sound though like it's nothing too serious, so hopefully Nylander will be back for Game 2, if not Game 3, please, because I think it would make a massive difference. So going into the first period, it was off to a very rough start for the Leafs. The Bruins' first shot on goal from Beecher went in, 1-0 down, very soon into the game. I think the Leafs did actually start off really well. They were sort of really battling for the puck. I really liked the way that they looked, but that first Bruins shot just went right in, and it was sort of downhill mostly from there. There was a lot of penalties in this game, which I am always surprised at, because in my mind playoff games usually equal less penalties to let the game flow a little better. And even though game management is important, I don't think it's great to be calling really soft calls. It's just not for me. And in the first period there was a really questionable penalty on Benoit when the stick went up into the Bruins player's face, but it was almost like the Bruins player lifted the stick up into his own face. Really questionable, very soft in my opinion. But the Leafs penalty kill is just really bad, and it was just shocking how many penalties they did take in this game. But anyway, going into period 2, the Leafs started with a 4-on-3 power play, but it didn't really come to any fruition. The power play was not good last night. They got nothing out of any power plays, and there was a goal from Carlo in that period, and there was also 2 from DeBrusque. It was just looking really rough. It was just really rough, and by the time it got to 3 a.m. and then nearly 4 a.m, I was definitely considering my life choices. In the third period, David Kampf did get the Leafs on the board and stopped them from being shut out, which, love David Kampf. There were other good opportunities from other players. Austin had some amazing chances, and there was just one, I just don't know how it didn't go in. I do not know how that didn't go in. It hit the post and it was just so close. But Austin did have some good chances last night, and I did quite like the chances that he had. Boston put the final nail in the coffin during the third period though with a Frederick goal, and yeah, that was that. Not a great start. In terms of stats, Leafs outshot Boston 36-24, but as we all know, Boston have really good goaltending. Both Swayman and Ullmark are both incredible goalies, and so it doesn't really matter who they have in goal. That's always going to be a strong element of their game, so getting past that is tough. So I'm not surprised that the Leafs outshot them. It's just a shame that none of those could have gone in though. It was a real shame. In terms of penalties, as I say, a lot of penalties. Leafs had 12 minutes of penalties, Boston had 8. The Leafs just took some really dumb ones. I really would like to see them sharpened up on their discipline for the next game. As I say, there was the Benoit penalty, which I thought was quite questionable. I wouldn't call that a dumb penalty, because to me it was quite a soft call. Bertuzzi got a high stick, which was just so stupid in my opinion. Like, it was just completely unnecessary. Domi had a couple as well, and one was roughing, but the slashing call that he had, I think it was on Marchand, that was again just completely avoidable. There was also a Jake McCabe interference call, and Austin also got a high stick as well, which was kind of stupid. But Just 2 of the Bruins goals obviously came off the power play, and the Leafs just really need to stay out the box. Like, their penalty kill is not good enough to spend that much time in the box, so you really have to rein it in. And I know that it's great to play tough playoff hockey, but if you're going to get called for it and your PK is as weak as what the Leafs is, then it's just not worth it, really. Samsonov's a whole other topic in itself, and I love Sammy, I absolutely love him, but he was hung out to dry quite a few times last night. But I would say he was definitely below standard, and he definitely could have done a lot better. I don't know if the nerves got to him, I'm not too sure what it was, but he definitely didn't perform as well as he can do last night, and I was a little bit disappointed. It wasn't completely on him. At the end of the day, they weren't scoring either, but there were definitely a couple that I think he probably would have liked to have back. And given that Boston didn't actually get that many shots on goal, he did let in quite a high percentage of them. So I don't know whether starting Wall the next game is a good idea, or I think Sammy could be, he has some games where he just, even through the regular season, there were some games he would be a little bit weak in, and then he kind of bounced back, and this could be one of those scenarios. But I don't know if starting Wall is maybe a good shout, and then maybe try Samsonov again in game 3. I don't know, that might be a real idea. I think the special teams were the biggest weakness. I think that was the real weakness last night, which of course Nylander being out is definitely part of the problem with that. I think the Leafs really lost that game for themselves. I think Boston played really well, but the Leafs just completely let them win because of their own mistakes and their own gaps and weaknesses. I really don't think it's quite as catastrophic as some people feel it to be, and I understand why people feel like it's a disaster. And trust me, at 4 a.m, I thought the same. But when I thought about it a little more, I was like, look, as I've seen a lot of people say, they lost game 1 last year and really got blown out last year in game 1. They've lost most game 1s. I know in 2022 they actually won that game 1, but that was a rarity. Usually the Leafs do lose game 1. They're on the road. I just think there's things that they can tighten up, and then I think they do actually have the potential to do well in the upcoming games. I don't think they're going to get swept personally, and I could be wrong, and if I'm wrong, then I'm wrong. But I definitely can see, I think they just need to tighten up on their discipline. I think the goaltending was a weakness, but it's mainly, for me, I just think they need to stop taking stupid penalties. I think that was one of the biggest elements of last night. So many came off the power play that if they hadn't had those, it would have been a much tighter scoreline, and maybe they might have been able to catch up with the Bruins. The Bruins were the better team last night, but I don't think they were ridiculously the better team. Like, I did like a lot of the things the Leafs were doing, and I didn't absolutely hate the Leafs in the way they played last night. I really didn't hate it. I just think that they've got some things they need to tighten up on if they want to actually win some games in this series. But I do think it's doable. I don't see it as completely out of reach, and I'll be really surprised if they do get swept. I will be surprised, but for game 2 they do have things definitely to work on. But I think if they can tighten up in those areas, I think maybe they'll be okay. I could be completely wrong, but I think they might actually be okay. I think they're definitely going to win some, so we'll see what happens. We go again tomorrow. I'll feel happier if they win tomorrow, because then they're going back home. So yeah, it's a bit deflating though. It's always deflating losing a game 1, but still a lot of hockey to be played, and they can definitely still do this. I'm going to be optimistic. They can still do this. So those are all my thoughts from game 1 of round 1, Leafs versus Bruins. Let me know in the comments down below, what did you think of the game last night? Do you think the Leafs stand a chance, or do you think they're completely outplayed by this Bruins team? What do you think? Let me know in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe if you haven't already. I'll be posting after every Leafs playoff game, and so I'll be back very soon with more Toronto sports chats from across the pond. Bye guys.
Quiet voices in the night. Time is running out of sight. A lonely wind is passing by. Tries to carry all the whispers that it finds.